Hello dear students, I am Dr. Sanjay Pagar, Associate Professor, Department of Geography. Dear student, I welcome all of you in this online lecture series on behalf of Maratha Vidya Prasar Samaj's Charity Arts, BH Commerce and M Science, popularly known as GGUT-113 College, Nasik. Dear student, today we will be starting our new course of M.Sc Geography Past First, Semester 1 on Principle of Economic Geography. Paper code for the same is GGUT-113. Dear student, without wasting any time, let's talk about our today's lecture, which is on introduction of our syllabus. Dear student, I hope that you are aware about our change pattern, which is choice-based credit system 2019 pattern, and number of credit awarded by this course are 4. Our course has total 8 topics. Let's see about each one briefly. First subtopic we have in this syllabus, course, that is Introduction to Economic Geography. Dear student, this subtopic is divided into the 3 subtopics. The first subtopic is definition, nature, and the scope of economic geography. You know that, student, economic geography is a prime branch of human geography, which is developed in later half of the 19th century. In first subtopic, we are going to discuss few definitions of economic geography, which are given by various scholars, economists, and economic geographers that we are going to discuss here. In this subtopic, in the first subtopic, we also have nature and scope of economic geography. You know that, student, the nature of economic geography is not static. It's a dynamic subject. It's a scientific subject. It is an interdisciplinary subject. It's an applied subject. It's a complex subject. It's a descriptive subject. That all things we are going to discuss here in detail. Then we have the scope of economic geography. You know that, student, the scope of economic geography is very wide and broad that we are going to discuss in detail with some example. Second subtopic of our first chapter is approaches, that are the traditional and modern approaches. Approaches refer to the way teacher consider content while deciding how to teach it. The approaches to the study economic geography can be divided into the 2 categories, that is traditional approach and the modern approach. Traditional approaches such as regional approaches, community approaches, principal approaches, and other approaches. And in case of modern approaches, we have some example like system analysis, behavioral approaches, and other approaches. That both approaches we are going to discuss in detail. Then we have the third subtopic of the first chapter, that is recent trend in economic geography. Dear student, you know that during last few decades, economic geography has experienced tremendous changes in its subject matter, methodology, and approaches that we are going to discuss here. Then we have the second topic or the chapter, that is economic activities. This chapter is also divided into the 3 subtopics. You know that, student, economic activity means the activity conducted by the human being to fulfill its basic needs are known as economic activity. That we are going to discuss in our first subtopic. What do we mean by economic activity? Means its definition. And also we are going to discuss the classification of economic activity. On the basis of nature of economic activity, all economic activity can be classified into the 5 types, such as primary economic activity, secondary economic activity, tertiary economic activity, quaternary economic activity, and quinary economic activity. All type of this activity we are going to discuss with help of his characteristic and few example. Then we have the second subtopic, factor of location of economic activity. The factors such as physical factors, social factor, economic factor, and technological factor. That all type of these factors we are going to discuss how these factors are affect on the economic development of any particular region. That we are going to discuss in detail. Then we have the third very important subtopic, that is location of economic activity. The location of economic activity we are going to discuss with help of the Weber's model and Van Thunen's model. Both models are considered very important topic of economic geography. You know that, student, Alfred Weber was a German economist and he published his famous theory in 1909, whereas Van Thunen was a farmer, an unprofessional economist, and he explained his very important model in 1826. Both this model we are going to discuss in detail. Then we have chapter number 3, that is resources. This chapter is also divided into the 3 subtopics. The first is definition and the classification of resources. Means what do you mean by resources? Then we have the classification of resources, especially natural resources and the human resources, that we are going to discuss with example. Then we have the second subtopic, significance of natural and the human resources in economic development. You know that, student, the economic development is very important, and for the economic development it requires some natural resources and the human resources. On the basis of the natural and human resources availability, we observe economic development of any country. That we are going to discuss in detail here. Last, we have a subtopic in this third chapter, that is importance of non-conventional energy resources for sustainable development. Yes, student, this is very important. If you want to do sustainable development, definitely we require non-conventional energy resources. And therefore, the importance of non-conventional resources, energy resources, is very important if you want to do sustainable development of any region. That we are going to discuss here in detail. Then we have the chapter number 4, or the topic number 4, that is economic development. And this topic is also divided into the 4 subtopics. The economic development is a process whereby an economic real national income increases over a long period of time. It is a multidimensional and broad concept that we are going to discuss in our first subtopic of the chapter, that is definition and the concept of economic development. Then we have the second also important subtopic, measures of economic development, that we are going to explain with help of some example. Third one is also important, that classification of countries on the basis of economic development. Here we are by using various criteria, we are going to classify countries in various categories. That we are going to discuss here in detail. Last topic is also very important, that is Rostos and the Mardel's model. You know that, student, both models are very important in study of economic geography. The Rostos was an American economist. He proposed his theory of stages of economic growth in 1960. He explained his theory with help of the 5 stages of economic growth, whereas Mardals was a Swedish economist and he proposed his famous model about special model of economic development that we are going to discuss in detail. Then we have the chapter number 5. This is also a very important chapter, that is transportation and communication. This topic is also divided into the 4 subcategories. Dear student, transportation is the activity of taking goods and the people from one place to another place, whereas communication is a transfer of the message or the information from one person to another person. In the first subtopic, we are going to discuss various modes of transportation, such as road transportation, railway transportation, water transportation, or airway transportation, that we are going to discuss in detail. Then we have the second very important subtopic, that is geographical factor and the transportation. Dear student, you know that the development of transportation, it totally depends on the geographical factor. If the geographical factor are favorable, then definitely we observe good transportation network. Whereas if the geographical factor are not favorable, then definitely it creates obstacle in development of the transportation. That we are going to discuss with help of the examples. Then we have a third very important topic, that is various means of communication. Dear student, you know that there are numbers of means of communication are available, such as postal services, telegraph services, courier services, and social media, and so many that we are going to discuss in detail here. Last subtopic in the chapter number 5 is role of transport and the communication in economy. This is also very important. You know the student, the economic development or the economic development of any region is depend on the what type of the network of transportation and communication is available in that area. That is very useful for development of the economy of that particular area. If this network is good, then definitely it will be helpful for development of economic that country, but or that region. But if it is not favorable, then definitely it negatively affect on the development of that particular area's economy. So that we are going to discuss with some example, with help of some example. Then we have the chapter number 6, that trade. This chapter is also classified into the 4 subcategory or subtopic. First subtopic we have definition and the type of trade. You know, the student, the buying and selling of goods and services is called trade. There are 2 main type of the trade, that is internal trade and the international trade, or international trade is also known as the foreign trade. So therefore, in this first subtopic we are going to discuss what do we mean by trade and what are the important type of the trade that we are going to discuss here in detail. Then we have the second subtopic, factors affecting on international trade. Yes, student, you know that student, the development of the internal trade is not observed same everywhere because it depends on various factors that are affect on the internal trade. It may be geographical factor, political factor, social factor, or any other factor that we are going to discuss here in detail. Then we have the third very important subtopic, that is problem and prospect of international trade with reference to India. Dear student, you know that the trade of India with other various countries we observe here, but you know that the development of the international trade of India with the various countries is not same. That we are going to discuss with help of the problem and the prospect of international trade with reference to India. This is a very important subtopic that we are going to discuss here in detail. The last we have e-commerce. E-commerce is new concept. Latest or recently it added in our syllabus. E-commerce means, what do we mean by e-commerce? What are the characteristics of e-commerce? What are the problem of e-commerce? That we are going to discuss here. You know that student, e-commerce means the commercial transaction conducted online is known as e-commerce, or a system for buying and selling of goods and services through the online modes is known as e-commerce. That we are going to discuss in detail in this subtopic. Then we have next chapter or next topic is economic development in India. This chapter is also divided into the 5 subtopics. Dear student, you know that economic development is a process by which emerging economies become advanced. And we have the first subtopic, that is pre and post independence economic development in India, that we are going to discuss in detail. Then second subtopic we have Green Revolution in India. This is also very important subtopic we have in this chapter. You know that student, Green Revolution was started in India in 1965. Green Revolution refer to introduction to high yielding variety of seeds and the increased use of fertilizer and irrigation method. And due to the use of these all things, the production of the food grain was increased on the large scale during this period. And this increase in the production of agriculture is known as Green Revolution in India, that we are going to discuss in detail. Then we have the third subtopic of the chapter is need of new Green Revolution in India, that we are going to discuss here. Then we have the fourth subtopic, that is regional disparity in India. This is also a very important subtopic we have in this chapter. Dear student, you know that regional disparity refer to differences between economic performance and welfare between different regions, that we are going to discuss with help of the India's example. Then we have the last subtopic of the chapter, that is impact of globalization and prioritization of economic development. Here we will discuss what do we mean by globalization, what do we mean by prioritization, and how this globalization and prioritization impact on the economic development of any country, that we are going to discuss in detail. Dear student, then we have the last topic or the chapter, that is chapter number 8, contemporary issue. This topic is classified into the 3 subtopics. The first subtopic we have regional disparity in Maharashtra. Then here we are going to discuss again the example of the Maharashtra, what type, where we observe the regional disparity and what are the reasons behind the regional disparity in Maharashtra, that we are going to discuss here. Then we have role of IT industry in economic development in Maharashtra. This is a very important subtopic. The IT industry is playing important role in economic development in Maharashtra, that we are going to discuss with few examples. Then last subtopic we have a case study of one local agro-based industry. This is a very important subtopic we have. Economic analysis, problem and prospect of any agro-based industry. It may be sugar factory, it may be winery industry, agro-tourist center, or maybe the other any agro-based industry that we have located very close to our college premises or very close to our area, that we are going to discuss in our last of year. Especially, I repeat again, economic analysis, problem and prospect of that particular agro-based industry. It may be sugar industry or maybe winery or any agro-tourist center that we are going to visit, and after visit we are also going to make prepare a report of that visit of that particular agro-based industry, that we are going to discuss here. This was about our today's syllabus. Dear student, I will try to provide some notes in form of PDF, but they are not enough, so kindly refer given some reference book here in this list, and you can use this reference book to update your notes. That definitely useful to you. Dear student, this was about reference book. I guess I have clear all about syllabus, reference books, but still, if you have any query related to the syllabus or the books, feel free to mail me at my email sanjaypagar@kthmcollege.ac.in. I repeat my mail again, that is sanjaypagar@kthmcollege.ac.in. Thank you. From next lecture, we will start from our very first chapter, that is Introduction to Economic Geography. Till that time, take and stay tuned. Thank you.